Hello, my name's Meredith Winn. Unfortunately, I can't be with you today in person because I'm in Paris, but I'm really happy to have the chance to talk a little bit about my research via video. And so I am a doctoral student in political science, and I'm in my fourth year. So over the summer, I went to France, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom to conduct interviews with immigrants and aid workers there as part of my dissertation. And what I was interested in finding out was how domestic political situations, and in particular far-right anti-immigrant parties, were impacting immigrants in terms of their day-to-day life, and how aware they were of these sort of political shifts. So what I found was that, unsurprisingly, there were very real effects that could be observed in terms of how politics were shaping the lives of immigrants, and in particular how the rise of these anti-immigrant far-right parties were impacting. However, these were somewhat indirect effects, and these occurred both through formal political processes as well as more social changes. And speaking with the aid workers was really, really valuable in terms of kind of identifying these patterns, because they could speak to sort of change over time. Whereas many of the immigrants I spoke to had less experience with the system, and so were less able to articulate exactly what was happening, but nonetheless provided really important information to me. So really what I found was that far-right parties are affecting the lives of immigrants in a couple ways. First is by incentivizing mainstream parties that tend to have actual political sway to take an increasingly militarized and criminal justice approach to migration and be more restrictive. So this is particularly hurts migrants that are coming through seeking asylum, those that are coming through undocumented, who don't have the resources to necessarily find things like housing. So there's a large number of people living on the streets, and then that's dealt with as a criminal problem and with police forces instead of with social services oftentimes. And so there's this, despite efforts of organizations to try to build trust, there's a lot of distrust of the police among more vulnerable migrant groups. And then what I also found was that public fear seemed to be stoked by the rhetoric coming out of anti-immigrant parties, and so aid organizations are actually at times prevented from doing their work. There's increasing social unrest and interpersonal issues that are faced, and so there's a lot of re-victimization that goes on, again, for people that are coming through in these more vulnerable categories. On the other hand, people that might identify themselves as expatriates, higher income, migrants coming for economic opportunities or family reunifications were largely insulated from many of these problems. And even though they tended to have opinions about them and feel them, and even though they tend to be fairly against the anti-immigrant sentiments that are put out by these parties, they also tend to feel somewhat protected and isolated from it by virtue of oftentimes their family status and their higher socioeconomic status. So this was a really important project for me as part of my dissertation, to understand how migrants and different migrant groups are being impacted by these sort of real-time political changes that are occurring. And it's something that I am now supplementing with a large survey that I'm distributing online. And so I've been really grateful for this opportunity to kind of get in on the ground floor and do this research in the field, which has been extremely valuable to my overall development and certainly to this chapter in my thesis. Thank you.